Hello, and welcome to APICS Extra Live, Accelerated Value Stream Mapping with Terrence T. Burton. My name is Christopher Jablonski with APICS, and before we begin, I'd like to run through a few details. At the end of the presentation, we'll save time for a question and answer session. If you look at the right toolbar on your screen, you'll see a questions box. To ask your question at any time during the presentation, simply type it in the box and click Send. Should you experience any technical difficulties during today's broadcast, please call GoToWebinar support at 1-805-617-7000. This presentation is being recorded and will be available at apics.org/extralive starting early next week. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's broadcast. Terry Burton is President and Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Excellence in Operations, a management consulting firm with headquarters in Bedford, New Hampshire, and offices in Munich, Germany. He's been an active APICS member and a participant at the local and national levels for more than 25 years. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to Terrence, and you may begin.
Thank you, Chris. Today's webinar, what I like to do is first cover the history of value stream mapping, how it got started and where we are today. I'd like to introduce you to the changing competitive dynamics in the marketplace and how it's influencing the way we need to think about improvement going forward. Provide an overview of accelerated value stream mapping. It's a methodology that we created about 4 or 5 years ago as a response to rapid deployment, rapid results, I need help now mindsets out there. We'll walk you through the accelerated value stream mapping process with a supply chain example, a real-world supply chain example, and we'll also share with you what happened. And then we'll talk about rethinking strategic improvement, improving how we improve. My goal today is to get you to recognize the need to think beyond lean as we know it today. There's an urgent need to evolve lean to a higher order, adaptive, systematic process of improvement to better deal with today's economic and competitive challenges. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, just a quick caveat here. Much of what you're going to see today is from a book that's due out very soon by McGraw-Hill called Global Kata, Success Through the Lean Business System Reference Model. So let's talk about the history and kind of where we are today with value stream mapping, where most organizations or many find themselves. Again, we need to recognize that this whole notion of value stream mapping, for example, people communicating process with each other, it's really existed for thousands of years, starting with the ancient Egyptians, the Anasazi, stone carvings, cave paintings. In the 20th century, with folks like Schuhart and Taylor and some of the other gurus, Deming, those folks did value stream mapping using anything from meat, paper, and tape, body diagrams, yarn and push pins, flow charting templates, functional flow charts, D&E size drafting paper, free-handed process drawings, TQM freeform charts, and also, as of late, people have been value stream mapping using such things as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Visio, CAD, and other technologies, other process software management tools. The breakthrough really came in 1999 with John Shook and Mike Rother when they wrote the book Learning to See. They introduced a standard value stream management process with standard symbols and terminology that was very consistent with lean, and I want to add one word there, manufacturing, because that's important. So it became a standardized, easy to understand, easy to teach, easy to document, end-to-end manufacturing processes, and accompanying descriptive data. And this methodology was also very easy to share with others. Oops, things hopping around on us, sorry. From 1999 to present, I mean, we're talking almost 20 years now, many organizations have used value stream mapping to document and improve their processes, many with some great successes. But as of late, as I go around from company to company, executives are more frustrated because they see following the recipe. It's kind of this field of dreams improvement. If we map the process, the results will come. There's a lot of memorizing and mimicking the principles and tools and the terminology that people can learn and see, and as a result, they become less observant of the process and the inherent problems within it. And in some situations, I know this hasn't happened in your own organization, but I have seen organizations where value stream mapping has literally gone viral, generating more waste than value. It's months and months of activity. By the time the value stream map gets created, it's obsolete, it's non-actionable, and we'll talk more about that. So again, think about this next statement. The same people plus the same thinking plus the same process is always going to get you the same results. We're at a crossroads with value stream mapping as I see it now, and that's why we developed this accelerated approach. Value stream mapping is conceptually sound, but it's out of step in terms of what executives are looking for and the speed, the literal speed of change in today's economy. The world is evolving very rapidly, but value stream mapping has remained pretty much the same as it was in 1999. So a good thing to do, you know, going beyond is to kind of ask ourselves the 5 whys. Why? And the eggs in the basket, I don't think you can see what reads underneath it, but basically no single point improvement tool, for example, value stream mapping by itself, 5S by itself, or any other tool by itself is all-inclusive or all-encompassing. In other words, it won't solve every problem in the company, and it will never make an organization a best-in-class organization just with one tool. So let's take a look at what's going on in the world here. Again, these are some of the drivers that got us to thinking about, hey, we need to improve the process of value stream mapping, kind of use our own thinking to apply what we're doing and apply it to what we're doing. So the first change is this, what I call morphing of process. It's morphing away from physical assets and equipment and people assembling things and machines making things. It's moving more towards professionally based processes, technology-based processes, software-based processes, and some of the examples of 3D printing, additive manufacturing, subtractive finishing, automation, and robotics. And again, all of these things are very highly software-based. I think I say it later on, but as this morphing occurs, the ability to improve becomes more complex because the ability to see problems becomes more complex. They become more invisible. The second thing that's going on is this rapid evolution of transactional processes. What used to be, multiple plants scattered around the U.S., physical assets, equipment, it's been impacted by outsourcing. Manufacturing or production plant now has been replaced by global supply chains, which are very complex. There's so many invisible opportunities in those complex transactional processes. They're professional, they're knowledge-based, and they have a higher value contribution. If we continue to focus on manufacturing while this transition is going on, we're trying to get less out of more. There's decreasing value added in manufacturing, and the real opportunities are in the areas that are unknown or we haven't discovered yet. Again, like the global value supply chain, global product development, some of the other complex interconnected network of transactional processes. And the third thing that's going on is evolving technology. I know myself and probably many of you wonder, how did we work 20 years ago without the technology that we take for granted today? I'm old enough to remember that when somebody gave me a pager, it was a blessing. And now we have cloud, mobility, big data, business analytics, digital performance dashboards. We have the ability to do real-time improvement. And so technology is really changing the way that organizations need to approach improvement. It's enterprise-wide. It's not limited to manufacturing or the production floor. It's rapidly evolving. There's so many unknown opportunities that you just don't know until you get in there and you mine them out. Technology also enables improvement that wasn't possible in the past, and we have this chronic disruption, and improvement has to include more creativity and innovation going forward. So again, what's this all mean? It means that we need to evolve from, if you look at the left side of my chart here, again, this is not intended to be insulting or anything, but we need to move more from a tools-based approach to improvement to a more holistic, an adaptive, systematic business model approach to improvement that addresses leadership best practices, architecture best practices, behavioral alignment, cultural development for real, something we've talked about for decades but have tended to put off for one reason or another. Planning and execution best practices. And again, we need to extend this lean body of knowledge and include all the entire improvement body of knowledge. I don't have time. Well, maybe I'll just go into it a little bit. But if you go back to the Taylor days, the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, there was this thing called industrial engineering that was a body of knowledge that was sent to Japan, and it was exported back to us in the form of individual tools. In other words, this body of knowledge was decoupled into tools. And somehow we need to get back to consolidating that body of knowledge. So we've got a lot of different methodologies and approaches to deal with the whole spectrum of things going on throughout our enterprise. And also the integration of technology. That's going to be a big thing going forward. So we need a higher order lean, version of lean or strategic improvement to address these evolving complex structural process changes. And again, what do we mean by all this? Let's give you a little more detail. What that means is we can't continue to do more of the same. How have we improved in the past? It's been the top-down, big bang, train the masses, executive mandated, focus on production and tools, mimicking the Toyota production system and other implementations of other companies, a lot of creative activity, checking the box, creating the appearance of improvement, bogus reporting of savings, and really questionable benefits and value ultimately. So in the future, it's all about improving how we improve. And again, the new model has to be laser targeted. It has to be rapid deployment, rapid results, enterprise-wide in scope. It has to be simplified and easy to assimilate into daily work. It can't be a big program that's perceived as in addition to, where people respond with, I don't have the time to do that and my regular work. It has to be for real improvement kata. In other words, for real culture change. We have to get back to this fully integrated body of knowledge versus single point tools, integrate evolving technology, and then sustainable through many quicker initiatives. And most important of all, we have to be able to demonstrate a positive value contribution and an unquestionable return on improvement. ROI in this particular case means return on improvement. Many times it's easy to blame leadership why some of these improvement initiatives don't work, but again, if you do the why analysis on that, you find that, well, they're not getting much for their effort, so they lose interest and they move on to something else. So again, leadership, I think, is a symptom. Leaders don't come to work every day and intentionally pull the plug on lean. There's other deeper things going on in their minds that cause them to drift away in terms of commitment and things like that. So let's talk about accelerated value stream mapping and what it's all about. So back after the meltdown in 2008, we saw a need to come up with a different way to service our clients. They didn't want, the 10-month studies or the big 2-year Six Sigma deployments. They wanted help now. It was more tactical, but again, it was well thought out so that, if you continue to do this, it ended up as continuous improvement. So they needed a more rapid deployment, rapid results model of improvement. So we kind of looked at regular, the traditional approach to value stream mapping that we certainly have been using like everybody else. And we said there's got to be a better way to do this. So accelerated value stream mapping, some of the attributes, it leverages organizational knowledge and pre-analytics. First of all, there's an operations diagnostic, there's data, there's facts, there's evidence, there's a lot of other analytical activities going on behind the actual value stream mapping activity. Accelerated value stream mapping is more of a surgical approach versus a lengthy one-shot effort, often conducted to document the end-to-end process. It leverages the knowledge, the information, and the known detractors of performance by those who work with the process every day, and I might add to that, plus data and facts. It integrates several improvement methodologies and tools into the process. So again, we're not just using a single tool, we're using a bundle of whatever tools are required to achieve that creative problem solving. So it could be anything from a value stream map plus Pareto analysis plus FEMAs plus some of the other basic Six Sigma tools, something we call transactional forensics, where we're trying to recreate what happened in transactional processes, scored waste logs, and a number of other analytical things that we've come up with. And again, it's not sequential, it's interactive, and it's ongoing. It's focusing on the highest impact opportunities and moving on to the other segments. It optimizes the limited improvement time and resources, and it provides a well-dissected end-to-end value stream map over time. It just does it in pieces. So again, if we were to put one next to each other, accelerated value stream mapping, rapid deployment, rapid results. Traditional could take months of effort. It's static, and often the path is cold to the problems once you've completed the map. Accelerated is surgical. We're really deep diving for the causals, a lot of pre-analytics before mapping, looking for clue data. The traditional is exploratory, it's open-ended, and it's symptomatic in many cases. Accelerated, qualified detractors and problems up front, plus creative problem solving. The traditional value stream approach tends to be more of go out and map the process and see what you come up with. Accelerated uses integrated methodologies and analytics. Value stream mapping is often used as a single point tool. And perception-based, what I mean there is if you look at any process, there's a number of versions of a process. It's how it's documented for ISO, how it's supposed to work as designed, and how all the variations of how it actually works when you get out and talk to multiple operators, whether it's on the floor or planners or buyers, and ask them how they're doing things. So again, it's not capturing that. Accelerated is real time, it's interactive, it's an iterative process. Traditional value stream mapping is batch sequential. Accelerated focuses on visible and invisible. Traditional focuses only on what people can see. It's knowledge experience driven on the accelerated side, and it's more procedures, recipes, standard symbols driven on the traditional value stream side. And you know, I kind of compare this to kind of a GPS process to laser target in on the real problems that create most of the havoc in the entire process. That's accelerated value stream mapping. Traditional, I kind of look at this sometimes as a safari where, people are mapping out the process and they hope that they can put their fingers on the real problems. So let's walk you through an example. I think this is the best way to really understand the power of accelerated value stream mapping. This is one of our clients. We have not shared the name, but this is a real company and a real situation. Large multinational manufacturer of equipment, several $billion in revenue. They make equipment, installation, service, repair. It's growing, but there's a lot of strategic issues that risk the future. There's 12 international business units who independently source products from 2 common Asia suppliers. And here's what, sitting down with the executive team, here's some of the dialogue that they came up with. One is, our supply chain is broken. We're struggling with delivery performance, inventory performance. The Asia contractors are, giving us problems. They're performing horribly, and as a result, we're experiencing excessive operating costs. New product development, can't get things out on time, late to market, exceed the development budget and the target unit cost. A lot of engineering, quality, field problems after the product is released. And in general, business units are missing their operating plan, their budgets, their revenue and P&L goals, and It's the same recurring explanations, but nothing seems to be changing. Again, so what they did is they said, can you help us? Can you help us turn this thing around in 60 to 90 days? And so you can see from this example that the wrong answer would be, sure, let me get a team of people to value stream map the process for the next 8 or 9 months, and we'll see what we come up with. That was definitely not the right approach to this thing. So again, with value stream mapping, we first start out with what I call, it's almost like a living ocean plan, where the macro charter is the higher big picture issues, and that gets stepped down into what we call a micro charter, which is specific opportunities, a list of specific opportunities. They eventually get prioritized and aligned to the business and operating plan, and they're detailed out enough so they are what we refer to as assignable, where you can give a team a project or an activity, and it's very clear what the problem is, what the objectives and scope are, what the baseline performance is, what's the improvement goal, what's the expected benefits, and what's the next 30-day plan for the team. This saves so much time when you give a team a project that's scoped out to this level of detail. And that's kind of one of the big pluses of accelerated value stream mapping. So again, if we go from the top left to the bottom right, it's a step-down process, and they kind of said, there's really 4 themes here. We need to improve the global sales and operations planning process. There's definitely a need for SKU rationalization, reduce supply chain complexity, and improve time to market. Now, I can't possibly cover all the teams and their focused improvement activities and the methodologies and the analytics that they used in this single hour, but I want you to appreciate that everything that every team did was multidisciplinary. They didn't use just value stream mapping. They used that, an accelerated version of that, plus a lot of other methodologies and analytics. They leveraged the entire body of knowledge using, methodologies and tools that people might pigeonhole into Lean or Six Sigma or a theory of constraints or business analytics or engineering statistics and other areas. So the next step is what we call a SIPOC plus PCO TGWD. And again, it stands for suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, customer, performance, controls, observations. What are things that can go wrong? And provide data to support any claims. And again, that's supplemented with, again, a lot of continuous analytics in the background to help with the eventual evaluation process. And it's updated as new information is learned. So again, I've just put one in here so you can kind of get the idea. It's built off of a SIPOC that comes out of, I guess, Six Sigma, but it's actually used as a high-level map. Usually there's 12 to 18 blue boxes to represent the process. And we're looking at this one actually, typically they have a lot more detail than the one I'm showing you here, but step 1 is you create this diagram. And then step 2 is you take the boxes, okay, in the SIPOC plus, and you use those as the labels on a cause and effect diagram. This isn't the process 100% of the time, but in this particular case, the team said, hey, let's try this. Let's go looking for root causes in each area of the process to see where the largest pain points exist. So again, you can't read this maybe on the screen, but you can read it in the handout. But again, think of the process. They took each of the steps in the process and they did some root cause analysis around each step. And then the next thing they did, we call that the extended cause and effect, and sometimes there's other free-form drawings outside of this. And then the next step is opportunity ranking, where you look at frequency, severity, multiply one by the other to get a product. And again, this is all backed up by quantitative data. So if something comes up at the top, the team makes sure that, is this really true? Do we have data to support that that's the highest problem in our cause and effect diagram? But what you can see here is that 80% of the problems are in 2 steps of the process. So you don't really have to focus on the entire process. And so continuing further, and again, we probably can't read this. Unfortunately, you can't read the x-axis, but basically there's 10 to 12 specific issues driving 50% of the problems in 2 critical process steps. So again, you can see how this significantly increases the speed of improvement. It really helps to laser target in on those areas where you get the most leverage to improve the overall process. So let's talk about what happened. Again, in this short period of time, I wish I could walk you through each of the teams and all the specifics, but we talked about the opportunity ranking, isolating the steps of the entire process where the most detractors are occurring. And here's some other analytical findings outside of value stream mapping. Over 50% of the demands placed on the Asian contractors were no longer needed. And again, what happened is that the 12 international business units, they placed demands on the contractors, but they did a poor job of de-expediting and adjusting the real current demand. So the contractors were overloaded, making product that was not needed. We calculated a lost revenue potential of about $150 million because of that. On-time delivery was less than 50%. Forecast accuracy was 23%. $18 million worth of quality and warranty problems. $6 million premium freight. Excess inventory, $30 million. Excess supply chain costs, $5 million. Again, this is just coming from those two areas. Basically, everybody was just yesing each other to death rather than committing to supply and demand based on real, capacity. So again, another thing, inventory performance, 3.2 turns. They had 3,200 SKUs. 12% of the items had no activity prior to 12 months. So again, these are things that you never see on a traditional value stream map. So again, these are the 2 steps in the overall process where there were the most problems. So the next step is now we take a deeper dive using the value stream mapping methodology to see what we can find out in more detail in those areas. And again, besides value stream mapping, we're using Pareto analysis, we're using sampling plans to recreate what might have happened. Other analytics, waste logs. We have what's called a 5 whys spreadsheet, FEMAs, templates, guides, interconnects. And again, I mentioned the word process forensics. That's basically trying to recreate what happened in a particular transaction or group of transactions to see if there's any common theme to what's going wrong. So again, step 6, execution and sustainability measures. Let's talk about what happened in this engagement within the first 90 days. Again, this is several teams, but they flushed and adjusted real supplier requirements, took out the phony demands. They implemented a segmented sales and operations planning and contractor loading process. In other words, they didn't treat every planned item as equal. The A's had a different approach than the B's, than the C's. They created this centralized digital daily status confirmations. They reshored 6 products back to the Midwest. Again, I'm not sure if we have the time. These 6 products, the cash-to-cash cycle was probably 180 to over 200 days. Bringing them back to the Midwest reduced that to 30 days. They just made the product and shipped out the invoice with the product. And we found through analytics that 90% of the demand for these products were in California and Chicago. So don't ask me why they were ever moved to China in the first place. It's just, in my opinion, a bad outsourcing decision. Some of the other things the teams did, they reduced the number of active SKUs down by 7.3%, so that naturally is going to improve planning performance because you're planning less items. And they implemented real-time demand change performance. And this was a real good one. They were able, through technology, to look at actual to plan by product, by territory, by region, sales manager, representative, customer, and distributor. So if the forecast was off, they could peg that right down to the representative in a region and said, what did you say you were going to forecast and what did you actually sell? Just having this capability, it was almost like the Hawthorne effect. It improved forecast accuracy instantly because people knew that they were being measured. So again, on the right-hand side, the A items alone, the forecast accuracy popped up to 72%. $300,000 in premium freight savings, back orders down by 80%, $3 to $5 million in incremental sales within the first 60 to 90 days. Delivery performance rose to 88%. And again, in the future, they're using real-time digital performance dashboards with the issues and the owner and the status. They've continued with accelerated value stream mapping and some of the other related areas like new product development, customer service, sales, engineering, R&D, and some of the other professional process areas that have a direct or indirect influence on global supply chain. So again, their goals for by 2014 year end, again, I don't know if they've, this was in the beginning of the year, $136 million in new revenue. They wanted to get to 5 turns from 3.2, so they were on a very aggressive improvement path. So again, let's try to go back and look at the fundamental difference between accelerated value stream mapping and traditional value stream mapping. On the left side, what we're trying to do is understand what process factors backed up by analytics most influence enterprise-wide performance. In other words, we're trying to look at the gems in the end-to-end process, the leverageable gems where we're going to get the most improvement and the quickest improvement. So again, it's quick, it's high impact, it's laser focused on the most important issues. On the bottom, Traditional value stream mapping tends to be more of document the end-to-end process and let's see what we come up with. And in many cases, we've got a value stream map gone wild situation in many organizations where they're really questioning the value they're getting out of their value stream mapping activities. Let me share with you the new product development activities in this company because they were kind of going on in parallel. But using the same accelerated value stream mapping on the stage gate process, they were able to look at what's holding up new product development and work on those most influencing areas, and they reduced time to market by 50% over the next 18 months. They reduced concept and functional spec phases, and how they did it, they created a simple business case, requirements, templates, standard checklists, more standardization kinds of things, financial and technical justification for changes in features and functions, and other things that created less process and resource disruptions further downstream in the development process. If you've worked in development, you end up with this collapsed time cycle where the first phases seem to take all of the time, and then you're really squeezed in terms of test and commercialization, where a lot of problems occur. The other thing they did here that I thought was very, very innovative, they created this stage gate tracking process with a red, yellow, green approach, and again, digital red, yellow, green, where they could track every project and every person and every task and when it was due, and if a task was coming up to be due, they could set off a yellow flag and point it to a person, and if it was late, they could put up the red flag, and again, they work just like manufacturing. They stopped the process and said, how are we going to get this project back on schedule? So again, this was a good use of some of the traditional lean thinking, but with technology and adapted to professional processes. This company also reduced design verification costs by $3.2 million a year and ECO activity by $13.6 million a year. So again, let's go through the process very quickly. Step one is the macro charter and the micro charter methodology, the working sessions. So we're kind of pre-qualifying where we think the biggest issues are. The SIPOC plus and all the other SIPOC plus PCO, things gone wrong, D, that diagram. Then you could do an extended dialogue, cause and effect. You could do a FEMA. You could do a number of other analytical things to step that SIPOC down into more targeted areas of focus. And then the opportunity ranking and prioritization. Again, I just want to point out this isn't a subjective exercise. This is supplemented with real data and facts and a lot of discussion about why something ended up at the top or the bottom. And then deeper dive value stream mapping on the isolated tall pole problems. And then you repeat the process. It's 80-20 thinking, and you move on. So again, the future of lean value stream mapping, I should say value stream mapping and lean and strategic improvement in general. Some of the some of the basic tools have worked well in manufacturing where the problems are visible and relatively simple to get your hands around. But trying to force fit manufacturing tools and principles around some of these complex transactional processes creates what we call a ricochet effect. You just can't make progress 5S'ing and hanging up production boards for the supply chain and new product development, acquisition improvement, sales and marketing, facilities and maintenance, advertising and promotion. The root causes are fuzzy in time and space. In other words, it's very difficult to determine the difference between a root cause, a cause and an effect at any given point in time, which makes it complicated. And you can't see a lot of the problems in these complex processes. So again, the future, we need a different higher order approach to improvement. It has to be more technology enabled, more enterprise wide. We need some new approaches so that we can effectively deal with things like reducing complexity in the global supply chain or improving new product development. We just can't go after those things with Kanbans and painting the floor and some of the traditional lean TPS production tools. We need ways to better ways to deal with the complex transactional processes. And we really need to focus more on developing, for real, a culture of continuous improvement. So again, lessons that we've learned, lessons that our clients have learned. The world of improvement is changing drastically, radically. Organizations cannot keep up to the speed of change with the same people thinking, same improvement tools and approaches. The world of improvement includes much more invisible and unknown opportunities than when we focused on production. And this accelerated value stream mapping process, it's proven, it's an improvement over traditional value stream mapping. It's been very well road tested, and it's been able to generate rapid results in a very short time in an ever-changing economy. And again, in terms of time to improvement, if you want to call it that, the accelerated approach, within hours or days, you can really come up with some good improvements. Where traditional, it could take you weeks and months to map out the process. And again, the chart on the right kind of shows, you get the step function or the breakthrough improvements with the accelerated value stream mapping. And finally, it's important to realize that the need for improvement never goes away. It's never finished, and we need to continuously look for different approaches and think of improvement as a process, and we need to continually improve that process or improve how we improve. And I guess to finish up, kind of not related to this, I do want to say that I enjoy leading these webinars for APICS. For the past 30 years, APICS has provided an extraordinary learning and development forum for myself and my own career, and it's certainly my pleasure to give back to APICS and to all of you as members for the positive experiences that I've had being affiliated with APICS. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Chris, and I'll be happy to take on, answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, thanks, Terry. And yeah, let's look at some of the questions people are coming in with, and we have a few already. As a reminder, if you want to ask a question, just look for the questions box on the right toolbar on your screen and submit that in, and we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. So let's get rolling. Let's see, we have a question. Let's go with, do you think, Terry, you can explain if there's a direct link between accelerated value stream mapping and SNOP?
Is there a direct link? Well, I think
Yes.
maybe the way I'd explain that is we would use accelerated value stream mapping to kind of map out the whole S&OP process in an organization. So rather than taking months to do that, the accelerated approach would probably take, could be hours to days with the right people in the room. So again, it's not directly related. I look at it as it's a methodology to enable us to pull apart the sales and operations planning process much quicker and see where some new opportunities might lie.
Sounds good. Well, let's move on to the next question. So John is asking, is the expected result of accelerated value stream mapping an end-to-end process flow, or is it more of a bottleneck identification tool?
No, I think you got to look at this as your accelerated mapping is value stream mapping in pieces. Remember I told you repeat the process? So as you repeat the process, you eventually end up with the larger value stream map that you would have done if you did it in a batch sequential mode. But I will tell you honestly, in many clients that we work with, they will choose not to finish the entire thing because we all feel like, hey, we've solved 95% of the problem. Let's move on to something else. So it doesn't always get completed, end to end. And it's not really a bottleneck. It's just the opposite. I think traditional value stream mapping is a bottleneck. Case in point, I walked into a financial organization that's been doing value stream mapping for 2.5 years, and the only improvements they can come up with is things like cafeteria food and more comfortable chairs and better lighting, and nothing to do at all with the process. And funny story, I walked through the wallpaper on the conference room wall, and as I was going through the map, the person had sticky notes saying, oh, the process doesn't work like this anymore, and she was writing out different notes and sticking them on top of things. So I mean, it just points out how obsolete a big value stream map can become with all the changes going on in this crazy economy.
All right, great. Sounds good. Well, let's move on. There's a question from Sunil, and Sunil's asking, do you think companies should first carry out traditional value stream mapping before they can move on to accelerated value stream mapping?
Well, I think it helps to understand the basics. Again, I want to make a caveat here. This is not a replacement for value stream mapping. Value stream mapping is a good tool on the production floor. I wouldn't take that away from it. Where the problems are more obvious and where you can see what's going on with the normal senses, you can touch the scrap, you can listen to a machine chattering and those kinds of things. You can see the inventory. Accelerated value stream mapping, regular value stream mapping is a good tool. It just takes too long. I've encouraged clients to do traditional value stream mapping, but focus on a process rather than the whole end-to-end manufacturing operation. The accelerated value stream mapping, hands down, works much better in the complex transactional processes. Because the problems are invisible, they're interconnected. We got this thing that we call it receptivity, where the causes and effects are really unknown in time and space. It's very hard to isolate them. So accelerated value stream mapping is superior in the transactional processes, in my opinion. not only my opinion, our experiences as well.
Great. Let's move on to what I consider somewhat of a classic question in this sort of situation. Do you have any advice for selling the idea of accelerated value stream mapping to an otherwise less than motivated management?
Well, I think we have this issue all the time. If you've got kind of the, for lack of a better word, let me use the religious TPS fanatics. If you've got people that kind of look at lean as, a limited number of tools and principles, and value stream mapping has to be done a certain way, then I think it becomes very difficult to introduce, change. And I always joke with people that, sometimes the people who are changing are the most difficult people to change. But I think the best way to introduce any of these things is with a pilot, to demonstrate, how quickly you can achieve results and the magnitude of results. I can tell you that many of our clients, they're just, again, not boasting or anything, but they're amazed at how fast the team can dig in and get to the real root causes of problems that they had no idea that existed through this accelerated value stream mapping and the other analytics that go along with it.
Sounds good. Well, I think we have just about enough time for another quick question on the. So let's see how this one goes. But Maria wants to know if you can point out any examples where you might be able to receive training on accelerated value stream mapping.
Well, you know what? We're, to the best of my knowledge, we're the only company that's doing this, and it is coming out in a forthcoming book here in a couple of months. But I would be happy to provide, this presentation, and I think I have a few other presentations on accelerated value stream mapping that I would be happy to provide, or if somebody wants to have a discussion offline, I'd be happy to do that too.
Well, that sounds great. Do you want to give your contact information in case anyone needs to reach out to you?
Yeah, best contact information is you can check out our website. I think there's a few blogs and articles on there about accelerated value stream mapping. It's www.ceothroughh.com. Actually,
whoops, yeah.
Hang on a second, okay? I'm just trying to go back here.
Yeah, let me, do you want to go back to the, is there a slide you want to go back to?
Yeah, the last one. Can you help me get there? No? That's the first one, right? If you can bear with me here just for a second. I want to get to the very last slide here. It'll save me the, there you go. Here's our contact information, the website, and if you'd like to, whoops, it just went away, Chris. I'm looking for that last slide.
Sorry for the technical snag there.
Can everybody see this?
Yeah, I believe it's coming through.
And my personal email address is burton@ceobreakthrough.com.
All right. Well, thanks, Terry, for providing that. And with that, I believe we have to wrap up. So, Terry, thanks so much for your time today. And to all our participants, thank you very much. And this will conclude today's edition of APICS Extra Live.
Okay. Thank you, Chris, and all your members. I certainly appreciated it.
Great. Take care. So I'll just read a bit of closing material. All content and materials included in this edition of APICS Extra Live are the property of APICS and Terrence Burton and are protected by United States and international copyright laws. All rights are reserved. All right, thanks all for joining us.